You're listening to Campus Killings, brought to you by AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to check out some of the other great true crime podcasts from this network, including The Murder in My Family, Missing Persons, DNA ID, Scene of the Crime, Zodiac Speaking, Beyond Bizarre True Crime, Below the Surface, and Killer Communications. All of these podcasts are available for you to binge on right now, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe where you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss an episode.
Hi, Amy, and hello, listeners. Today's case was requested by our listener, Tessa B. In her note, she said she loves all of our podcasts and sent us a thank you for always providing informational and educational content. Her words.
Nice.
We're so happy to hear that, though, and a huge
Yes.
thank you for being such a fan of not just Campus Killing, but of all of our shows. We are very appreciative. Tessa actually sent in 3 possible cases, but Sam Martinez's story stuck out to me the most, as his tragic death at Washington State University caused not just policy changes at his school, but some unprecedented legal changes at the state and national level as well. So let's get into it with some background on Washington State University, or WSU first. Founded in 1892 as one of the many land-grant schools from the 19th century, the now city-sized WSU began with a humble 59 students and 5 faculty members in the town of Pullman, Washington. Their first graduating class in 1897 had just 7 students. The school's original purpose was to prepare students to work in what was known at the time as agricultural experiment stations. These stations were research centers working on finding solutions to issues related to food production. So this involved working with farmers, ranchers, suppliers, and processors to identify and solve issues with agribusiness, crop variations, soil testing, and livestock processing. As the college grew over the next 50 years, it provided students with a full liberal arts education, along with continued specialization in the agricultural sciences. But by the 1930s, the Great Depression had hit the school hard. And with enrollments depleted, the university faced some difficult financial decisions. These were all rectified by the 1940s, though, as the U.S. War Department contracted the university to house and train the U.S. Signal Corps. This influx of students, followed by the GI Bill in the late 40s, reinvigorated the school and launched it into a phase of intense prosperity and growth. By the 1980s, WSU had become an R1 research institution and had ballooned into a city-sized campus with satellites across Washington state and even in Vancouver, Canada. Today, the university boasts around 28,000 students between its undergrad and graduate programs, and their food and agricultural research directly helps sustain Washington state's $29 million food industry. Fun fact. Food science is a huge part of WSU's research productivity, and they actually invented a cheese in the 1940s that is still owned and produced by WSU today. It's called Cougar Gold. Their mascot is the cougar.
Okay.
And it's a white cheddar produced on the campus's creamery from their own dairy herd. Oh, it earned several awards in the late 90s, early 2000s, and if any of our listeners want to try it, it's available for purchase on WSU's website. But while food and agricultural sciences are what WSU is most known for, they attract students to a varied number of other majors and programs. And one such young man named Sam Martinez chose WSU for its business program. While his family has not given many public details about his life, I was able to find that Sam grew up in a bilingual household where he spoke Spanish and English, and that he was the eldest child with a younger sister. He grew up in Bellevue, Washington, and his parents describe him as having a sharp mind and amazing sense of humor. His mom called him the quirky, funny spark of light that was the center of their family. And according to his best friend, Sam was like the fun little brother she'd never had. He made people laugh, and he was genuinely a happy person. He was also very giving, as he spent most of his summers in Mexico with his family, where they volunteered on community development projects. In high school, Sam was a standout soccer player, and he also played the trombone in the school band. While it's unclear why he chose WSU, Sam decided to major in business entrepreneurship with the hope of starting his own business after graduation. But before Sam got to WSU, he was already being recruited for one of WSU's fraternities. Now, I'd never heard of Greek institutions recruiting prior to students attending college. Have you, Amy?
Never.
Okay. No, I didn't know this was a thing at all. Certainly no one was scouting me out. All right. But according to the civil suit the Martinez family filed following the events we're about to discuss, WSU provided their Greek organizations with incoming students' contact information.
Oh, without getting their approval?
I don't know. I'm not sure if that's part of maybe they sign, like, do you consent to have a following list of organizations?
Yeah.
I would bet it has to be in there somewhere. But it might be one of those things, too, where it's just kind of slipped in there. But so this allowed them to send recruitment packets and other promotional materials to admitted students' home addresses.
Mm.
The suit stated that Sam received promotional and recruitment materials from Alpha Tau Omega Fraternity, or ATO, and this was the summer before his freshman year. This obviously intrigued him, and while his parents, as most parents, were hesitant about their 19-year-old son joining a fraternity right off the bat, they attended a seminar at Sam's freshman orientation in July of 2019 about the benefits of Greek life. In the WSU presentation, they learned that Greek life members often have higher than usual grade point averages, better friendships, and were 3 times more likely to graduate on time.
Who sponsored that research?
I know. That's actually a good question.
Yeah.
But the Martinez family was impressed by the presentation. And after doing their own research into ATO's national organization, they thought it would be a good idea for Sam to start his college experience with the support of fraternity friendships.
Mm-hmm.
And in fairness, Amy, there was a lot to be impressed by because ATO was founded in the 1860s by Civil War veterans who were looking for a way to bring still divided young men together. Their mission is to, quote, bind men together in a brotherhood based upon eternal and immutable principles, with a bond as strong as right itself and as lasting as humanity. To know no north, no south, no east, no west, but to know man as man, to teach that true men the world over should stand together and contend for supremacy of good over evil, to teach not politics but morals, to foster not partisanship but the recognition of true merit wherever found. It's one hell of a mission statement.
Yeah, it's a long one.
They're also quite large, with 125 chapters across the United States, and with such a long history, they boast several famous members, including the American playwright Tennessee Williams, a football Hall of Famer Lou Graza, and Food Network star Guy Fieri.
Oh,
yeah, look at that.
I like Guy Fieri.
I knew we'd recognize one of those names, and it was, of course, the food person. From everything the Martinez's read, ATO seemed like a great way for Sam to build leadership skills and make connections that would be necessary in launching his own business down the road. But what they didn't know at the time, and could not have known because it wasn't posted anywhere on ATO's website, their national one, or WSU's website, was that the ATO chapter house recruiting Sam had a history of alcohol and hazing incidents, as well as reports of behavioral misconduct.
Mm. Do we have any details on these reports, or are they just general?
No, there's a few details here. They'd been suspended in 2013 due to alcohol hazing issues that violated both WSU and the national fraternity's policies. Then in 2018, they received disciplinary action from WSU after a student reported hazing practices. And only weeks into the start of the 2019 fall semester, ATO's president had gone to WSU administration asking for ideas on how to reduce risks that some of the brothers' behaviors were having on the chapter.
Okay.
But Sam and his parents had no idea about any of this, as the state of Washington did not have any laws requiring universities to publicize hazing incidents or other Greek life disciplinary actions.
This came up in a prior episode of Campus Killings.
It sure did, yeah. And it's not surprising that a number of these hazing incidents are leading to crimes. Or are criminal in themselves, you might say, and have just terrible consequences. So Sam excitedly began the pledge process before he'd even attended a class at WSU. But almost immediately, he endured several hazing incidents. While there haven't been many examples of this told to the public, in an interview with 60 Minutes, investigators described that Sam had endured being hit or smacked at an initiation ritual on more than one occasion. And at one particular event called Blackout Date, Sam was handcuffed to a woman he'd never met and told they had to drink a large bottle of vodka together until they either blacked out or finished the bottle. Then someone would unlock the cuffs. Based on later Snapchat footage, these alcohol-fueled rituals were incredibly frequent at the ATO chapter house, as Sam had several videos from August through October of fellow pledges throwing up or lying passed out in the house's basement following the events. But he had no idea that the most important ritual of the pledge process would be his last. And now, a brief word from our sponsors. On the evening of November 11, 2019, Sam was studying in the library when he got a text to head immediately to the ATO chapter house for their Big Little Night. This was one of the most important parts of the pledge process where Sam would find out who his mentor would be. Do you remember this? Big Little Night? Yeah, of course. Yep. Okay.
It was a big deal.
It was. According to later interviews, this ritual involved the big, or mentor, introducing the pledges to the, quote, family drink, which in the case of ATO was a half-gallon of rum.
Oh, boy.
Sam and another pledge were meant to share the half-gallon bottle, which came out to around, get this, 40 shots apiece.
No. Oh, geez. And they had to drink it in like one sitting, or what was?
Yes.
Do you know what the criteria?
Yeah, the two young men allegedly consumed this in less than an hour. And by around 8:30 p.m., Sam was described as highly intoxicated.
Oh, boy.
This is an insane amount of alcohol. I can't even believe the amount. It shocked me.
Yeah.
Sam passed out at some point between 8:30 and 9 p.m. and was moved to a couch in the chapter house's finished basement where his mentor, Wesley Oswald, laid Sam on his side so he wouldn't aspirate if he vomited.
What about calling for help? Maybe that's a better idea.
Yeah, according to later interviews, Wesley checked up on Sam every 2 hours to make sure he hadn't thrown up in his sleep. According to Wesley, Sam was breathing at each of these checks, so he figured he'd just sleep it off, and Wesley went to bed around 2 a.m. But at 8:30 a.m. on November 12th, one of his brothers went to wake Sam up and found him not breathing. The brothers called 911, but he was not only pronounced dead on the scene, but it was estimated that he'd been deceased for several hours. An autopsy was performed, revealing that Sam had a blood alcohol level of 0.372.
Boy.
Yes, it's 5 times the legal limit. The medical examiner also estimated his time of death was around 4 a.m. and was, unsurprisingly, directly due to alcohol poisoning.
Wow. And the other pledge he was doing it with, that he ended up being okay?
He did, from what I know. I think the worst part here, too, Amy, is that if someone had called 911 around 2 a.m. or at any point, Sam could have been saved. Sam's death broke his parents, as we can absolutely understand. But it wasn't just the fact that they lost their son at such a young age. It was a fact that they felt betrayed. They'd done so much of their own research to vet the fraternity before advising Sam to pledge. And as they later told 60 Minutes, there was nothing on WSU's website or the National Fraternity's website to indicate that ATO not only had a documented history of alcohol hazing practices, but had been suspended and disciplined in the past. Had they known, they said they never would have encouraged Sam to pledge. And I'm sure that's true. But as I said, Washington State had no laws obligating universities to post hazing statistics or disciplinary actions against Greek chapters. As we've seen in other hazing cases we've covered on the show, the Martinezes saw their son's death as a criminal act, and they wanted justice in the courts. But as we've also seen, hazing deaths are nearly impossible to prosecute criminally, though this did not stop the Pullman Police Department from trying. According to the Pullman Chief of Police, Gary Jenkins, who'd been the lead investigator on Sam's case, they interviewed over 70 people in relation to Sam's death. But ATO members were difficult witnesses during interviews, and many of their accounts conflicted with each other. When asked for any social media or phone data to corroborate their stories, their chapter president told Chief Jenkins that he'd been instructed by the National Fraternity to delete any social media from the previous week.
Oh, boy.
That's not a good look.
No, and good for him for being honest.
And all the ATO members had done just that. And the Pullman Police Department was unable to get any useful information out of their warrants to Facebook, Snapchat, and Apple. Even though we talked about this, we were talking about it actually on Women in Crime the other day, that we weren't sure if police could get info from Snapchat, but I was surprised to see that about Facebook and Apple.
Yeah.
They were also unable to get into Sam's phone, as he had an iPhone, and Apple does not supply law enforcement with backdoor avenues into their customers' devices. So investigators sent the phone to a specialist to try and crack the passcode, but after 18 months, they were unable to get into it.
Huh.
That surprised me too. I really was surprised. I thought for sure someone would crack the code. It was also later revealed that the National Fraternity's CEO flew out to WSU the day after Sam's death with the organization's insurance adjuster to conduct an internal investigation. Just on the side here, 60 Minutes eviscerated the CEO during their interview about the optics of bringing an insurance adjuster to a death investigation.
It's awful.
It's awful. The CEO claimed that since she was a middle-aged female, her words, her presence was supposed to be mom-like and encourage the boys to tell the truth in their interviews.
Come on.
Yeah,
Come
Anderson
on.
Cooper actually did a lot of scoffing at this answer, implying the CEO was far more concerned with liability than uncovering why a pledge had died. Just a little background here. According to an interview at 60 Minutes, the police were unaware of the internal investigation, as the national chapter never shared any of its findings with law enforcement. What a surprise there, huh? WSU also did an internal audit of ATO, but unlike the National Fraternity, they did share their information with police. And through that information, 15 of the fraternity members were charged with furnishing liquor to minors, which is considered a gross misdemeanor in Washington.
What does a punishment look like for something like that?
Punishable by up to or maximum of 1 year in jail and a $5,000 fine.
Do we know what they actually got?
Yeah. Also, no one was charged with hazing, since there was no legitimate evidence of hazing without those social media posts or potential messages in Sam's phone to show that he had been forced, manipulated, or coerced into drinking so much alcohol. Police could not press this charge. They simply didn't have the evidence. This was so infuriating to Sam's family, especially after the 15 members received their sentences for the misdemeanor charge. Okay. 7 took the option to complete community service requirements between 2020 and 2022 to have their charges dismissed. 7 more pled guilty and were sentenced to 1 day in jail, followed by 8 months of probation, and they had to pay a $500 fine and enroll in the state's drug and alcohol awareness course.
Okay.
The last member to be sentenced was Sam's big brother, Wesley Oswald. He pled guilty to handing Sam the bottle of rum and was sentenced to 19 days in jail, 2 years of probation, paying a $500 fine, and enrolling in the state's drug and alcohol awareness program. Sam's parents were clearly displeased with these sentences, citing, quote, "While the charges may lead to some level of accountability, this is not justice. It does not bring us closure." They went on to further say that the sentences were insulting compared to the devastating consequences of their actions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could
understand that.
I couldn't agree more. So should hazing carry heftier sentencing? What do you think? Would legitimate jail time be a deterrent for those? Or are they so ingrained in fraternity culture and ritual that students would do it anyway?
I mean, I think it might be a general deterrent, at least on that specific campus. I mean, it's a place to start. It's better than nothing.
I agree.
What do you think?
I think that hazing should carry heftier sentencing. I think it's high time that we acknowledge that, hazing results in some very, very serious consequences, including...
We've covered a lot of them already.
We've covered so many cases that I really do believe there should be a significant punishment for hazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that if we can't break down the hazing culture of fraternities and sororities in the way that they're still conducted. I mean, this was only 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That Greek life, I'm not in favor of Greek life anymore, given what we know. So,
because I think the potential issues outweigh the benefits because we do know there are benefits to Greek life for some people, but
there definitely are.
There's just too much at stake here.
Way too much at stake here. I will say there's a lot we don't know about this case. We don't know exactly what the hazing looked like. Was Sam coerced or forced to participate? Did he go along with it even if he wasn't comfortable because he wanted to be part of the group? Or maybe he was totally into the drinking and did it on his own accord. Because we don't have any real evidence from that night, we don't know what really happened. Only the fraternity members who were present do. And whether they told the police the truth remains unknown. However, I think I feel very comfortable saying that had it not been for drinking 40 shots of rum, he would probably be alive.
Yeah.
And I am sure that I feel pretty comfortable also saying, had it not been part of some type of fraternity hazing or pledging ritual, he probably would not have drank 40 shots of rum.
I think we can agree with that for sure.
Okay, so what do we know for sure? Well, ATO's chapter house was closed by WSU's administration on November 13th, 2019, the day following Sam's death. After completing their own internal investigation, WSU stripped ATO of their on-campus recognition and banned them from operating on campus until 2026. It's ironic because here we are in 2026. And I did look to see if they'd been reinstated, and at the time, or as of the airing of this episode, they are still absent from WSU's list of fraternities.
Okay, that's good.
The 15 members involved in the Big Little event that ended in Sam's death were also expelled from the national fraternity for violating ATO's policies around alcohol consumption. But this was not enough justice for the Martinez family. And as we see many families do, the justice they couldn't get in the criminal courts, they sought in the civil one. They sued both WSU and the National ATO fraternity in wrongful death suits. And these suits would bring about some unprecedented legal outcomes. We'll return after a brief word from our sponsors.
Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making millions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/hidden. Protect yourself now at aura.com/hidden.
While both the university and the national chapter initially filed no-fault claims in response to the Martinez's suits, their lawyer appealed, and the case went all the way to the Washington Supreme Court. In their appeal, the Martinezes stated that WSU was not only well aware of ATO's consistent violations of the university's hazing and alcohol policies, but when ATO's student president had asked WSU administration for help in curbing his membership's risky behavior, WSU did not provide him with any assistance or advice. Documentation also revealed that the university was heavily dependent on the large financial gifts donated to the university by Greek life alumni and their national organizations.
There it is.
That's not a good look.
No. Do we know how much money they donated, the national?
Yes, National ATO had donated over $4 million to the school in recent years. Yes,
Wow.
It's a lot. And the relationship between the fraternity and WSU administration was allegedly so important that WSU's president celebrated with the membership in person when they unveiled their chapter house's renovations in 2018.
Mm.
The suit found that due to this financial dependency and special relationship, it was in WSU's best interest to promote as much Greek life participation as possible. They created an entire department known as the Center for Sorority and Fraternity Life, or CSFL, to oversee the organizations. And this department was also well aware of the hazing and alcohol infractions at ATO, as well as other WSU fraternities. I mean, let's be clear, too. A lot of the I have no doubt that administrators at the school I went to were aware of the hazing that went on. A lot of it was done in public, out on the lawns of fraternity houses. I mean, literally, this is not always hidden in a basement. Some of this is public. Okay. It was believed that one of the major reasons the university had not shut down ATO and the other campus fraternities violating the school's hazing policies was basically due to wanting to keep these donations and revenue streams open. If they had closed the ATO chapter house, they ran the risk of losing donations from the national fraternity and, of course, the ATO alumni. It was alleged here that the school needed to maintain a robust Greek life, and to do that, the Martinezes cited how the university's freshman orientation programs encouraged parents to trust that Greek life was safe and primarily academic, while simultaneously hiding the fact that ATO and other fraternities had been violating university policy for years. Just in case of question here, I just want to say something that WSU's website literally stated the following. Forget the stereotypes. Living on Greek Row is fun for sure, but you'll also be giving back to the community, gaining new leadership skills, and meeting new friends. You'll strive for academic excellence as well. In fact, WSU research shows that fraternity and sorority members are 3 times more likely than other students to graduate on time.
How much more likely are they to suffer harm?
Oh, that's such a good question.
I know. Why would they publicize that?
That was such a good point, though, Amy. Thank you for saying that. The suit named WSU as culpable in Sam's death, citing 4 main points. First, statutory duty under Washington State's anti-hazing statute. Second, a duty due to the special relationship between WSU and ATO. Third, a protective duty based on the fact that WSU knew Sam was a new college student who would have been extremely susceptible to fraternity hazing. And finally, a duty arising out of WSU's affirmative acts and omissions relating to promoting, recognizing, and regulating ATO. As far as I could find, where there have been several hazing death cases in Washington state, no university has ever been ruled as culpable. So the Martinez family, they weren't sure how well their appeal would do in Supreme Court. But they were in for a shock in January of 2025. In a landmark decision, the Washington Court of Appeals ruled in their favor, citing the following. Because WSU has a special relationship with its recognized fraternal organizations, we conclude that it owed a duty to use reasonable care to control the fraternity and protect Sam from the foreseeable harms of fraternal hazing and alcohol misuse. We reverse the trial court's decision and remand the case to Superior Court for a jury trial.
Oh.
Yeah, it was the first time in the history of the state that a university was held liable in a student's hazing death.
Wow. Not the last, I'm sure.
Yeah, and while I couldn't find what the outcome of the new trial was, I think that probably means that it hasn't happened yet. But this is huge, has huge implications for the state.
Mm-hmm.
And
other states, too.
Yes, exactly. In addition to being a huge win for the Martinez family, it sets a precedent for any future hazing death cases that may arise in Washington, and as you said, possibly nationally, too. Also, the Martinez family, just as a side note, settled out of court with the national fraternity, but the outcomes of that settlement have not been made public as far as I could find, which is not totally uncommon in these cases that the outcomes aren't public. While nothing will bring Sam back to life, the Martinezes have made it their mission to make sure that no other parents have to endure their pain. While most states have some level of anti-hazing legislation on the books, the U.S. doesn't have any federal laws in this area, and the Martinezes set out to change that. It's funny, I thought about that. I was like, I don't think there's anything federal on this. For all the cases that we've covered, I would think I would have known that by now.
Yeah.
Learn something new every case.
Mm-hmm.
Directly after Sam's passing, they liaison with other parents who lost children to hazing, along with attorneys, legislators, and Greek life associations to create the first federal law to address hazing. The Stop Campus Hazing Act was signed into law by then President Biden in December of 2024. So this is the first law of its kind to create countrywide cohesion on hazing prevention practices and requires all institutions across the United States to provide anti-hazing programs to students, to publicly report incidents, and publish the names of organizations that violate campus hazing policies. I think this is really smart. I do. I believe this information should be available, and I even like the anti-hazing programs for students.
Mm-hmm.
The Martinez family hopes that this will allow parents and their college students to be properly informed about what's really going on behind Greek life doors, so they can decide for themselves if pledging is a safe decision or not. In addition to the national law, the Martinezes also worked with state legislators on a Washington-specific law, which was passed in 2022. Called Sam's Law in their son's memory, it not only requires the same stipulations as the national law, but also reclassifies any hazing resulting in bodily harm or death as a felony instead of a misdemeanor. When we were talking about this earlier, like, what do we think? I think that that is appropriate.
Yeah.
You agree? Yes.
I agree.
Okay.
I do.
And that's not all they've done. In 2024, the Martinezes launched the website hazinginfo.org, which contains a national database of hazing incidents to give students and their parents a one-stop resource to weigh a potential Greek life organization or other club for safety. The Martinezes see their database as their legacy to their son and a way to help other families make informed decisions that could ultimately save their lives. In their interview with 60 Minutes, Sam's mother told Anderson Cooper, quote, "I don't want to see any more young men die. It was very powerful." We'll have a link to the database in our show notes for any of our listeners who want to check it out. And, especially because we have some listeners who are going off to college and others who are college students and a lot of parents of potential college students. So definitely check it out if you can. But ultimately, the question becomes as well, have these policies made a difference? For their part, WSU has taken the hazing issue seriously following Sam's tragic death. According to their website, they have a zero-tolerance policy on hazing, with strict sanctions for violations, including loss of recognition by the university, personal forfeitures of any grants, scholarships, or financial aid for individual students found at fault, as well as probation, suspension, and expulsion in the most serious cases. And they are enforcing these policies, as just this past year, WSU completely shut down their Alpha Sigma Phi fraternity after an internal investigation found that pledges were being coerced into consuming drugs and alcohol and were being punished through physical activities like being forced to do push-ups until they collapsed. WSU banned this fraternity until 2030 and ruled that if reinstated, it must remain an alcohol-free organization until 2032. Why not alcohol-free just for good?
What do you mean?
Well, is that they said that if the fraternity is reinstated, it has to remain alcohol-free for 2 years.
Oh, why only 2 years?
That's what I'm saying. Why not alcohol? Yeah, why not alcohol-free? I mean,
a
lot of campuses went dry. I guess they're probably afraid that would deter students, but I don't think so.
No, I don't think alcohol's the way it was when we were in college. I think, I don't think it's something. I was reading something that talked about how marketing is so different. Like when we were younger, there was so much advertising and, college students were the ones who were the targets for alcohol. And now it's just not like that anymore.
It's true. Alcohol consumption is down a lot. And in fact, on just a quick side note here, when we're talking about the significantly lower crime rates right now, it's thought by a number of people that possibly less alcohol use is a contributor to that drop, which makes sense.
I'm assuming legalization is a huge contributor too, right?
Right.
That's a bigger one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. While his family continues to mourn his death and will do so for the rest of their lives, the incredible activism Sam's parents have dedicated themselves to has made long-lasting changes to not just WSU, but the entire United States. Hopefully, we'll see Sam's mother get her wish, that no more young will die on fraternity couches from coercive and dangerous rituals. Thank you so much again to Tessa for alerting us to this case. We learned a lot on this one, and we hope our listeners did too. And as a reminder, even though we only have a few episodes left in season 4, this is number 18 out of 20, we'll still be covering listener suggestions in season 5. So if you have a case and haven't had a chance to send it in yet, it's not too late. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you'll join us on the next episode of Campus Killings.
Before we go today, if you'd like to support Campus Killings, consider subscribing to the show with an AbJack Insider subscription through Apple Podcasts.
Your subscription will get you VIP access to all the shows on the network that not only includes hundreds of episodes of ad-free listening, but also bonus content and early access to episodes.
For only $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year, you'll unlock a variety of listener benefits, and you'll be supporting this show in the process.
Head over to Apple Podcasts and search for either Campus Killings or AbJack, and you can start your subscription with a free trial.
Your support is greatly appreciated.
Campus Killings is hosted by Dr. Meghan Sachs and Dr. Amy Shlosberg, with research and writing by Abagail Belcastro. It's produced by Mike Morford of AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to follow Campus Killings on social media. You can find Campus Killings on Twitter with the handle @CampusKillings or on Facebook at facebook.com/CampusKillings. You can also visit the show's homepage at campuskillings.com. Be sure to tune in every other Saturday for new episodes of Campus Killings.